falls prey to the improper motives of a privileged few. The impact of this work is already evident at SARS. Other areas of progress include the work with the NPA's Asset Forfeiture Unit, the work that it has done to recover the proceeds of economic crimes, recapacitating the NPA with more qualified personnel, and changes in the leadership of entities such as the Public Investment Corporation. Chairperson, this has been supplemented by the work of the Fusion Center, where all relevant law enforcement entities share information and support each other in investigating these kinds of corruption. Discussion of how to institutionalize this form of cooperation are now underway. The SIU Tribunal started its work in October 2019, and since it started its work has shown its value in recouping monies wrongfully taken from state coffers. As has been made plain in this commission, our intelligence services are in dire need of attention. To this end, the implementation of the recommendation of the high-level review panel, which was chaired by Dr. Sidney Mufamadi, is at an advanced stage. I'm assured by the leadership of the relevant agencies that illegal operations identified both by the panel report and the investigations conducted by state security agency leadership are being identified, and they are also being terminated. The investigations continue on these and other wrongs within the SSA and in collaboration with law enforcement agencies. Covert activities are now subject to scrutiny by the Auditor General, something that we welcome. Late in December 2019, I also reconstituted the National Security Council, which is chaired by the President to ensure better coordination of intelligence and security-related functions of the state. Political responsibility of the state's security agency now resides in the Presidency, and deliberations continue on the panel's recommendations to split up the SSA into distinct domestic and foreign intelligence services. Government envisages a fundamental overhaul of state-owned enterprises model that addresses not only the deficiencies that permitted widespread corruption, but that also enables these companies to effectively fulfill their social and economic mandates in a sustainable manner. To this end, Cabinet has established the Presidential State-Owned Enterprise Council to reposition our SOEs as effective instruments of economic development through stronger oversight and strategic management. Government is working towards an SOE ownership model that clearly separates the responsibility of ownership, policy development, and regulation. Effective ownership will become more centralized to enable greater transparency, accountability, and oversight, and subject all strategic SOEs to more rigorous requirements for financial as well as operational performance. We are implementing standard guidelines on the appointment and remuneration of SOE boards and executives that prioritize the recruitment and retention of the appropriate skills and experience and competencies that we need in these bodies. This includes a clear delineation of authority and responsibility between elected public officials, non-executive directors, as well as executive leadership. Chairperson, we are working to ensure the rigorous implementation of controls over the use of public money as the best way to protect the abuse of these funds. The National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which was developed together with the representatives from business, trade unions, academia, and civil society, including religious organizations, was approved by Cabinet. The Health Sector Anti-Corruption Forum, which was launched in September 2019, is a critical element of our fight against corruption also. Now, legislative changes have been made and others are underway to fight corruption and reduce the likelihood of state capture. Now, the amendment of the Public Audit Act is a good demonstration of this, to give the Auditor General more power. Now, this is a significant step in the fight against state capture, as it targets the perpetrators of fraud and theft. Now, another set of powerful measures to prevent corruption and state capture include changes in the way that the public service is managed. Critical sections of the Public Administration Management Act have now commenced. These include the prohibition of all public service employees conducting business with the state, the development of norms and standards of integrity, ethics, and discipline in the public service, and the establishment of the Office of Standards and Compliance. Further sections will be commencing this year, and legislation meant to entrench greater checks and balances in public procurement is in the pipeline and will be finalized as soon as possible. Now, Chairperson, the Commission has asked me to address several other matters, including allegations made by witnesses against me before this Commission. These are addressed in detail in the statement that I have submitted to the Commission. There is one particular issue on which I wish to comment now, since it has received such widespread attention and can easily be disposed of. This relates to the allegations made by Mr. Brian Molefe and Mr. Machela Koko in relation to the stake that I held in Optimum Mine prior to my entry into government and my later responsibilities in respect of the ESCOM war room. While I was in business, I participated in a commercial consortium with Glencore in the acquisition of Optimum Holding, which acquisition was concluded in June 2012. I acquired an effective 9.64% shareholding in Optimum Holdings and became a non-executive chairperson of Optimum Holdings. In that role, chairperson, I had no operational involvement in Optimum Holdings or Optimum Mine. I was non-executive chairperson. Following my election as ANC Deputy President in December of 2012, I initiated a review of my business interests to avoid potential conflict. As part of this process, on the 6th of June 2013, I resigned as a director of Optimum Holdings, and on the 22nd of May 2014, I disposed of my shareholding in Optimum Holdings ahead of my appointment as Deputy President of the Republic. I had no further involvement or interest in Optimum after that point. In December 2014, President Zuma assigned to me the responsibility to oversee efforts to turn around several SOEs that were in dire straits. I was asked to give guidance and direction to existing governing structures, focusing on the unique challenges of each structure. As is apparent now, this work required collective commitment by all governance structures and was a long-term endeavor. Only recently have we started to truly make progress on the challenges that a number of state-owned enterprises have been facing, such as SAA, Eskom, and other SOEs. As part of this responsibility, I chaired an interministerial committee on resolving the country's severe energy challenges. This IMC exercised political responsibility for the Eskom Technical War Room, which was set up to support the implementation of the 5-point action plan, which we can talk about, adopted by the Cabinet to address the electricity. The War Room was under the day-to-day direction of deputy ministers of relevant departments and comprised representatives of Eskom and relevant departments. I was not a member of the Technical War Room. In response to the allegations made on this matter, it's necessary that I point out the following issues. First, my acquisition of shares in Optimum Holdings was a straightforward commercial transaction done in accordance with the regulations of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Second, as non-executive chairperson of Optimum Holdings, I was not involved in operational matters of subsidiary companies, including contractual matters between, for instance, Eskom and Optimum Mine. In Chairperson S, I acted in a number of instances in boards of various companies as chairperson. I made it a point that as non-executive chairperson on various boards I said, not to get involved in operational matters, and not to get involved in contractual matters. To a point where in those roles I never knew what the procurement processes in those companies were, and I actually regarded that as a no limit, that I should never even participate in that. And I kept to that type of protocol throughout. The third one, by the time President Zuma assigned certain Eskom-related matters to me in December 2014, I had disposed of my shareholding in Optimum Holdings and had no other business interests in mining and energy. Fourth, as is evident from the documents provided to the Commission with my statement, the Eskom Technical War Room was not involved in Eskom management or operational issues. I had no interest nor any opportunity to influence Eskom's decision-making process in matters pertaining to Optima. Finally, I turn to Mr. Koko's allegation, which was also widely publicized, that I improperly interfered to procure his dismissal from Eskom in January 2018. As I detailed in my statement to the Commission, Eskom was in a severe crisis at the time. Its domestic and international lenders were threatening to call on their loans, that is, repayment, in part because of concerns about Eskom's leadership and its reaction to allegations of corruption. Eskom's predicament threatened its very existence as a going concern. It also threatened the country's sovereign rating and the country's ability to access much-needed lines of credit. An urgent meeting was held at the President's official residence on the 19th of January 2018, attended by President Zuma, Ministers Brown and Gigaba, and myself. The meeting resolved that urgent action was necessary to avert a national disaster and to restore Eskom's credibility and to instill confidence in Eskom. This would require changes to Eskom's board and its leadership. The board would further be directed to remove all Eskom executives, facing allegations of corruption and other acts of impropriety, including Mr. Koko. Mr. Koko contends that his removal was an instance of unlawful interference in Eskom's affairs, executive overreach, but he also adds state capture. The suggestion that government cannot lawfully intervene in Eskom's affairs, even to avert a crisis, is completely incorrect. Government is Eskom's sole shareholder, and Eskom's Memorandum of Incorporation states that the shareholder may direct the company to take action specified by the shareholder if the company is in financial difficulty or is being mismanaged. The remedial measures thus fell substantively within the shareholders' powers as contemplated in Eskom's Memorandum of Incorporation. The mere fact that Mr. Koko was removed does not mean that his removal was intended to achieve corrupt ends or somehow to end up with the capture of Eskom. Chairperson, many people sacrificed their lives in the fight to end apartheid and to bring us to the new constitutional dispensation. When we dishonor the Constitution and we dishonor its principles and values, we dishonor those people who lost their lives as well. Since state capture is an assault on the democratic process, it is necessary that the process of extricating the state from a position of capture is inclusive, but it must also be democratic, and it must involve the broad range of interests in society. This is addressed in part by the public nature of this Commission's work. But the hard work will begin after this Commission has finalized its hearings and submitted its report. There will be, Chairperson, a need for a partnership between citizens and all branches of the state to ensure faith is restored in our institutions and in our democracy. Putting an end to state capture will enable the state to focus its efforts and resources more effectively on the provision of public services, which is critical to the transformation and development of our society. It is worth highlighting that many of our critical institutions continued to work as they needed to and as provided for in the Constitution throughout this period as well. Now, despite the damage that has been done by state capture to public institutions during this time and the resulting impact on the provision of services, the reality is that the work of government, yes, did continue, and progress has been achieved in a number of areas. This was due in part to the efforts of committed, capable, and ethical public servants and public representatives. Now, the road from the period of state capture will be long. Every measure we have instituted has taken time, and it has led to a lot of frustration as delays have led people to lose hope and faith. But it has required time and effort. And I believe, Chairperson, that we will not and we cannot relent. We've got to succeed in the task that your Commission is also involved in, that we should restore the credibility of the institutions of our country and indeed repair the damage that was done to our democracy. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had said earlier that we would take the normal tea break at 11:15. I see it's 20 5 past. Maybe we should take it, but I'm just concerned about the time we may be losing as well. Mr. President suggests 10 minutes. Okay, maybe we should take a break, and the President can get time for his tea as well. Okay, well, sometimes when we say 10 minutes, it ends up not being helpful because maybe it's just too little a time. Look, it's about 22 minutes past. Let's come back at 25 to. So we'll adjourn to enable to have the tea break. We adjourn.